Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this month's meeting of the Intergovernmental Cooperation Authority for Harrisburg. We will, in a minute, take up a couple of agenda items, but first, let me introduce our new board member, Kevin Hancock. Welcome. It's great to have you with us and to keep us at a better forum. For those of you who don't know Kevin, he has his own consulting business at the moment, but he comes to that after decades of experience in state government, primarily Department of Human Services and also Department of Aging, where he worked at a deputy secretary level on issues relating to long-term living and Medicaid and a handful of other related specialties. Am I capturing most of it?
Sure. I did have a brief stint with Department of Community and Economic. I have lived in Harrisburg for 25 years.
In multiple different neighborhoods,
Including yours.
including mine and Kathy's, actually.
Kathy was around the block. She was one block away, so.
We try to keep it close here.
Right,
Yeah,
right. So thank you and welcome. All right, so first up is approval of the minutes of the August 27th meeting. And I think there were a few corrections and edits handed in, and those have been incorporated. Are there any other corrections or additions? Motion to approve.
Motion.
To approve.
Second.
Second, thank you. And any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, chair report. Let's see, I met with the mayor last week and Bob sat in on the meeting as well, along with some other folks, and good productive meeting as always. We talked a bit about finances. Generally, the mayor didn't have any alarm bells to ring. And she said that work is proceeding along on preparation for the draft 26 budget. I think a common frustration we shared is that the state's still not completed its budget, and that leaves a number of things hanging for the city, most notably the project that's being launched between the city and CREDIC on economic development, which is anticipating some state funding for consulting services to help move that project along. Other than that, a few other minor issues on neighborhoods, some smaller issues that we just had some chats about. And other than that, we'll be meeting again next month. So, okay, let's now move into our big issue for this meeting, and that is review of the city's updated 5-year financial plan for 2026. At the last meeting, Brian gave us an exceptional briefing on the draft and covered a lot of territory, a lot of detail. Since then, individual board members have channeled some comments back through Jeffrey and on to the city, and a lot of that's been incorporated. Brian, I don't know if you want to start with a brief update. We also put together a list of bullet points for some things we might want to discuss that are really elaborations or confirmations from things we discussed at the last meeting.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everybody. To be honest, it feels like I was just here. How can it be that much time has gone by? It certainly doesn't feel that way. So a little bit of a backtrack or timeline. We submitted the initial draft on August 31st. And as the chairman mentioned, the board has reviewed, has made some comments, suggestions, and Doug and Jeff emailed that to me on the 11th. And I followed up with some minor tweaking of the draft now, which is a revised draft. It incorporated suggestions by the board. And one thing I want to point out for today, right now, in your handouts that I dropped off on the tables, the very top handout is 2 pages. And it's identified at the bottom as page 17 as part of the 5-year document. Just the top, the LERTA narrative, that's been just ever so gently tweaked because I talked to Gloria Martin Roberts, and she just edited down what I had, cut it back to make it more concise. But it's essentially the same type of conveyance of what the plan is on that. The next page 26 of that same 2-page handout, I changed in the top schedule under the Verizon Commonwealth Tower bonds. On the left, the liability under guarantee is really, I think that's a better number, because in the past, we've always had the accreted value of the bonds, which really is not what's on the city's books. It's the guarantee of the liability. So that 14 million is what it's estimated still, but that's a reasonable total for such liability. So I plan to incorporate those 2 pages, Jeff, into the current revised draft.
Those changes seem de minimis in the scheme of things.
Yeah.
So,
Right. So when, again, the comments and suggestions came back from the board, and then Doug had a list of, I'm sorry, Chairman Hill had a list of the discussion items or bullet points. So the second thing in your handout that I dropped off is, I was hoping to keep it to 1 page, and I achieved that barely.
Reduce the font.
Right, but at least it's, it's legible. So going through these items, the trend line on property real estate, reassessment values. And that is actually, I did a rough calculation. Our IT department generates a report every month from updates done by the county. And it lists the taxable appraisal value. So just applying the math with the city's current millage rates, it's not much of a drop off. It's down 6.9 million overall between land and buildings and improvements, which is about a 0.5% decrease. So if you do the math on this, if we were doing this right now for budget purposes, we always wait till later in the year. Our estimated real estate tax revenue for next year would be 16.6 million, which is practically identical to what the city budgeted for current year 2025. The big drop off happened this year because in 2024, the city was up around 17.3 million. So that was more of a sizable hit to assessed value. So if these values hold for the next couple of months, a bit of a drop, but it's relatively immaterial for our real estate revenue. Capital project planning, and Sam Solkowski is here today, our chief of staff, and I reviewed with him, and that firm, SiteLogic, that has been contracted to do this work, they have a updated report that they're still working on for submission. And that'll update what we have in the 5-year plan currently. The 5-year plan at the very tail end of it has a schedule on sites and projects with estimated project cost. So that is forthcoming. The status of the parking plan. Again, this is no change, unfortunately, in the way we're viewing the so-called waterfall payments from PEDFA and Harrisburg Parking Authority. The priority payment, the ground lease payment. We don't anticipate that to occur this year. And so I thought I would take a look at parking tax revenue and how that's trending. And it's a good trend. In 2023, the city did 3.8 million in parking tax revenue. Last year it was 3.9, and we're projecting this year to be even a little bit higher, 3.95, or maybe even it'll get up to around 4 million. That's just in parking tax. That's not mercantile. So I wasn't sure if that was kind of what the board was looking for on that. OPEB, we have recently received from Conrad Siegel the updated valuation, which is a 1/1/2024 valuation for fiscal 12/31/24. And the liability balance on that has not changed significantly. It's gone up slightly. Last year, it was at 138 million, 12/31/23. This valuation has it up to about 145 million. There's the fire piece of that liability is the one that has the increase compared to prior years. Healthcare plan review. This is also Conrad Siegel that is doing this contracted work. It's still ongoing, and we would expect to receive a report from them before the end of current year 25. Intergovernmental trash collection agreements, the 3 boroughs, as you know. In the 5-year plan on page 17, there's comments there that go to that. Steelton has already been secured through midway through 2029. Pembroke and Paxtang are currently being worked on, going through negotiations. And that's expected to materialize sometime by the middle of the final quarter of this year. CRW, no issues that I'm aware of currently. They have a new finance lead person over there, vice president. Her name is Mandy Meckley. She began back in September of last year, so she's been there a year now. So we always bounce things back and forth between each other because there's a lot of interfund activity and balances that relate to both the city and CRW. So I've talked to her earlier this year from an audit standpoint. The Solid Waste Management Authority, like SWAMA, again, no issues to be concerned about with our how they build the city for disposing of trash. And then also, as you know, they remit the quarterly fund that benefits the host fee fund. And actually, what is nice to report on the tipping fee side for disposal, we have 4 accounts, the city's main and the 3 boroughs. Through this month of September, and we just had a check run this week. So we are, for the city's account, we're at 74%. I like that number. For the boroughs, they are also at 75 or lower. They fluctuate a little bit, 72%, 71%, but it's a very good consistency there. The host fee fund, that's the quarterly, the main revenue piece is the quarterly payment. That's right under 74% for the year. So I say this in saying that the city did a reasonably good job in budgeting so far on revenue and expense, tipping fee wise, for this year.
If you don't mind me asking. Do you know when the Laxwana agreement sunsets or needs to be renegotiated? I'm not sure I remember how long it went for that term.
Yeah, I don't, but I can follow up on
You can
that.
find that. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I think, and if I remember correctly, there is a point where the city has to sit down again with them.
And yeah, and there might be something in there about the city may even have one day the option to
Well, I've not
take it
even
back.
considered
But
that.
that's, yeah.
I was just wondering about the term.
I think it's consistent with the PEDFA agreements.
Okay.
The 53 years, but I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't know if it goes out that far.
Yeah.
All right. And Chair Hill, I know you have an interest in this on the next line on the LERTA program. Again, I talked with our chief of staff on this last week, and there's an update there about a little bit of a timeline on what's being proposed and reviewed by committee. If you want to comment, please do so.
Sure, yeah. So the LERTA program technically expired at the end of last year. Council reenacted it for a 1-year extension under current terms, and the mayor put together a working group to come up with revisions with the intent of it being put in place in time for 2026. That group has been meeting on a regular basis. There are some drafts and some different opinions being prepared. And I think generally where the point of division comes and the decision point is going to be is how the tail is going to work. So typically LERTA has a 10-year max, and a sliding scale of exemptions, or exemption could be 100% or a sliding scale. Current system is a sliding scale, but the,
Current system. 10-year.
right,
Flat.
10-year flat.
10-year flat.
10-year flat, okay. And so there's still a policy difference within the committee on whether that's going to be a sliding scale or remain a flat schedule going forward. We are running close to the clock now because for reenactment, obviously, there's a backup time from council. There's also requirements for public input, and then, of course, we have to work with our other two taxing partners, the city or the school board and the county. I haven't heard yet that an extension is going to be needed, but you know, it is getting pretty close. Sam, I don't know if you have anything else from your perspective.
I haven't done my own 15. I was accused of taking over committees.
I do have a question either for Sam or for Doug. Assuming this all gets renewed, would all or some of the residential conversions that we keep talking about, would they qualify or potentially qualify for tax abatement under the loaner program?
I think there's discussion that potential continues.
I think it would depend whether there's an increase in the assessment.
Oh, right, of course, you can't have an abatement unless there's an increase.
So,
That's the
yeah, so if there's no increase in abatement or in assessment,
assessment, that there's
then
nothing
there's
to abate.
nothing to abate. So,
But obviously, it's theoretically possible that a residential conversion may result in an increase.
Correct.
And therefore, the developer could apply.
And well,
Yeah,
for developers, yes, that's very clearly on the table. But the city's also granted those to individual property owners as
Okay.
well. And that gets, from an administrative perspective and from a dollar perspective, you know, a bit consuming, but still it's an equity issue.
Right.
I think the other issue has been be citywide and targeted.
Sure. In terms of geographically.
So I think the consensus somewhat is, should be citywide.
Okay. Right, you could have a alerted district that's within the city. Or
Well, you could have a district and maybe have a different scale
Oh,
for that
okay.
one particular district, you know, where if you have a sliding scale for the citywide, you can go to a 10-year flat rate for, say, if there's a particular district that you want to focus on. So there's ways you can incentivize.
I only raise the issue because we keep hearing that there's going to be a wave of residential conversions, or it's already sort of underway, but is building momentum. So the question was, so much as Alerta is in essence an incentive program.
Right.
Using tax abatement of increased assessed value. So the question was, is that something that the city as a policy wanted to include an incentive for, or is that gonna happen because of market changes in office space versus residential space? And it doesn't need an incentive, or is it, for example, to encourage affordable housing, which clearly everybody agrees is a nice thing.
Well, I call it yes for all of that.
Yes, for all of the above.
Well, and the point is this, so we have office space that's outlived its utility,
Right.
or outlived its currency, you might say, that, you know, no longer meets Class A standards and it's much harder to lease out as office space. And so those are prime targets for conversion, but to provide an incentive to get them back into usable square footage makes some sense, whether it is for business purposes or for residential conversions.
I think the residential focus can be used to replace what you've lost. Because you gotta admit, the last 4 or 5 years, we lost some of the state workers that were no longer required to come into the city itself and do the work. We're all working remotely. Remember, spending hundreds of millions of dollars on the Keystone pipeline, Keystone train.
Okay.
And it was from Montjoy to Elizabethtown to Lancaster.
Sure.
Improve all those Amtrak stations. And that was just prior to the COVID situation. I know they spent $32 million alone just in Montjoy when I was there, which I'm very thankful for.
Sure.
But now all those riders are probably, a lot of them are probably sitting at home So now, not only are we losing money, but Amtrak's probably
It's good.
lost tens of millions of dollars too. So I think the focus on residential can be used to attract thousands of people to the downtown. So you can replace those people that you've lost. I think that's gonna have to be a focal point of the economic development plan that we're gonna actually do, so. And right now, we're doing the affordable housing grant project, which is an $8 million project, and we're actually went through all those, with Chairman Hill, who's participating in that, so thank you for that, so. We're learning how much of a task that was.
Yeah, well, and on the point of finding a replacement for the economic activity generated by downtown workers, downtown residents, really fulfill a broader spectrum. So it isn't just a lunchtime crowd or a happy hour crowd. It's a, evening and weekend crowd as well, and visibility on the streets and so on, things that create that economic vitality downtown. So that's why the conversions are a welcome part of the renewal process.
Sounds good. Thanks, Davis.
Yeah.
When is the Lerna expiration date?
The expiration is the end of the year.
Okay.
So it has to be,
Needs to be, right.
something has to happen this year.
One of two things, right, a new long-term plan or an extension of the current one. And I really hadn't looked into it. My guess is because it's tax year applicable, it had to be a 1-year extension, not just a couple of months.
Isn't it already too late?
So we're on the edge, really. It is a technical matter. Council has enough left in its meeting schedule to be able to do it. Whether the public hearings and other related matters can be fit in, as well as the work with the school board and the county, it makes it quite a hill to climb. Yes.
I believe there's also 2 mandatory meetings, public meetings that have to be held too.
And school district meetings and county meetings.
Right.
Seems unlikely that you're gonna get
In 3 months.
in 3 months or months.
Well, when we started this process in January, we kept saying our goal was to have something in council's hands by the middle of August.
Now we're the end of September.
We all used to government, things don't work exactly like you expected to something.
I mean, there was a time I know where I helped the community where they had alerta, it expired, but they didn't restart it. So you can have a gap and then restart the program. Right?
That's option 3.
It's not easy, but it's an option or favorable. So even if you don't make the deadline, you could start it again, for example. You just have a gap between. That's not good. Okay.
Thank you. And I guess the last note, updates on the audit.
Yes, so the timeline updates, initially, I was looking to achieve this by the end of the September quarter, which I'm not able to do. It will extend into the next 1 to 2 months. Mainly the various factors have affected me on that, as you probably know, the increased financial analysis associated with 2 of our larger projects, Broad Street Market and the stadium, FMD Field. Actually, the city last night had a budget reallocation session with council about Broad Street Market, which I was not worried about, but it seemed to go kind of better than I thought going into that meeting. But also, the 5-year plan, I kind of handled it on my own, just and not thinking I couldn't delegate it to anybody for assistance, because we do have staff that have some experience, but it's that historical, financial institutional knowledge it's not quite there and is coming, but I just could not reach out where I needed to in some of the meatier sections of the plan. So I spent some good hours on that. And I don't know if the board knows that just recently, earlier this month, Timothy Brooks, the previous budget manager, left the city's employ. So that position is currently vacant right now. So, but I'm really, my priority going into these last couple of months, is gonna be, the financial audit. I mean, I'll try to help or assist where I can, budget prep wise. I do, some limited work with the budget anyway.
Sure.
But the in-house management of the budget and the daily activity, that's where it's gonna be a little difficult for me to jump off with the audit ship at this point. So in that same thinking, haven't done much, but have really started some smaller pieces of the 2024 financial audit, because I mentioned CRW, they're moving ahead with their audit and they rely on balances and activity that the city generates. So with some interfund accounts, the OPEB liability, workers' comp, I've already done those for 2024. So with that in mind, the catch up, I was hoping to catch up this year, but now I'm saying to catch up in the first quarter of 2026, the 2024 financial audit. And that we'll be able to get back where we should be for 2025 during the mid and the early stages of fall next year, to get back on that September target of getting the report issued. And I mentioned departure. We have a new addition, and I'm happy she's here attending today. The city's new financial analyst is Shannon Storm. And she's very new. She just started on Monday and she's still here. So that's very encouraging.
So thank you for not scaring away.
We're very nice.
We'll see what we can do.
Certainly. Last thing, just to polish this off, I've given the mayor's certification letter on the plan. Jeff has that now. And then also, I believe the controller's report was completed and submitted. So I think we're in good shape there.
We are in good shape, Mr. Shannon. How would you like to proceed with the?
Sure. Well, first, I did want to note the receipt of the controller's report.
Yes.
And primarily this was a review of revenues and line by line on the revenue sources. The controller's report generally looks favorable in almost every respect, says that the estimates that are being employed near term and long tail in the 5-year plan are within mean values of what they would otherwise project going forward based on our history as well as their estimated market conditions. There were only a couple where it deviated. One was miscellaneous, but everybody who has ever done a budget knows what a movable target that is. But then they did express a concern over the total amount for the fiscal receipts. And their preference range that they were looking at, they were saying that the projection for 2026 is about $1 million, if I recall correctly, above that range. But again, as has been indicated here in my meeting with the mayor, the 26 budget is still under preparation as well. It's the final estimation of revenue sources. So, and I'll give Brian an opportunity and while we're at it, Bob and Sam an opportunity to comment on that as well. I'm trying to think if there was any. Okay. Any reaction?
I'm thinking, and I can drill down on this too, but maybe, and the controller's office may not realize that there are some extraordinary revenue items still in play related to like interfund transfers coming over. There's funding and insurance proceeds related to what is anticipated for Broad Street Market. So those are, they're included in those, this year as well, 25 and 26, but then there is a drop off, I think, that comes back to normal recurring revenue, which I believe might be more consistent to what the controller's office is suggesting.
I did have a question on whether or not I know it's speculative because we haven't done the 26 budget yet. But do you think that there's going to be some plan for the receipt of the reimbursement on the RCAP grant in the 26th year? You think that's when the check will come in, or or is that too ambitious and we might just leave it out of the budget because we don't know when the state will reimburse their share of the F&B bank project?
Right, I mean, it was originally planned for, late this year, so that seems a little bit doubtful
Right.
at this point. So, I think we'll have a better sense of that when we get, closer to November. And if we're feeling like it's not gonna materialize it this year, then it would be something we'd wanna work into 2026's budget.
I know that the RCAP review and approval process, even in the best of times, takes the state a long time.
Yeah,
to-
yeah.
To do.
I mean, just what you're saying, Jeff, to like the submission of, and you gotta make sure you have everything they want to see. So that's.
It can easily take a
detailed.
year of review, beyond which you're waiting for the reimbursement. It's not uncommon in that program. And if you could just remind the room, Brian, how much is the reimbursement that we're anticipating?
6 million even.
So
Yeah.
it's a sizable reimbursement, and obviously we've laid out the money. The project, you said, was just about done.
The city has, yes, I believe it's nearing completion, but I want to say by late this fall.
And I think you estimated around 12.2 is about what the total cost was. It might change.
Maybe
Since
just,
then.
yeah, slightly higher, and we just actually, council just approved in last night's they've already, it was already through work session, but they approved it last night. We've increased that line in the senator's fund to cover, because originally it was envisioned as a $12 million.
Right.
Project.
Well, I just know that, I mean, the question was, if the revenue is not coming back in 27, we're not sure it's coming back in 26. It doesn't necessarily have to be included in the budget. It could theoretically be, ambivalent on that revenue.
Yeah. It feels though like 26 is a better pick than 25.
Well, that's for sure.
Yeah,
That's late September.
yeah,
And there's no state budget, so.
yeah, hampers that, certainly.
So then I'll turn it over to members of the board. Any questions? Or comments?
I did have one question. The healthcare plan review, what is the scope
What is it, what?
of the healthcare plan review?
It's,
Is it health insurance?
Mind if I answer this question?
Oh, no, I was hoping you would, actually.
We are currently self-insured for health insurance. So what we're doing is having them, we'll take a total look at whether it's most cost effective to remain self-insured or to go to fully insured. And we're also looking at, from the standpoint of if there's any cost savings we can have. So we're doing that too. So it's a complete overview of our health insurance from top to bottom. Will I answer your question?
Yeah,
And the city carries aggregate excess insurance as well.
Right.
And I think you're reviewing that too.
Yeah, they're also looking to. We had a meeting yesterday with this, was it the dental insurance yesterday?
Yeah.
So they participated in that, see if there's any type of savings too. And we actually had a thing this morning on our life insurance. If there's a potential savings there too. I doubt that was sensitive, but other than contractual give backs. But I just wanted to, I mean, previously, every place I've ever been, it's always been a full insured plan. This is my first experience with self-insurance, so I wanted to have someone, a professional, look at it and say, which is most cost effective. I don't know the answer to it, so we'll know soon. So we started this process back in February, March this year, about. It takes a while. So.
Okay.
And they're doing a very thorough job. And Conrad City was also involved. Very familiar with the city itself.
do you mind if I ask why you elected to do an audit rather than a request for quote?
Well, it's not really an audit, it's more of a financial review, financial analysis. I mean, the cost of it is not that great. It actually was much cheaper than I thought it was. So it's not a full-blown audit per se, but it's more of a financial analysis and look at it, see This is the most cost-effective way of doing things.
It's more of an actuarial review
Okay.
than an audit, so, trend lines on, claims and nature of claims, scope, value,
Okay.
and whether the aggregate and the specific stop loss is sufficient.
And it's covering all municipal employees. So
I'm sorry, what?
it's covering all municipal employees. The insurance is covering all municipal employees. Okay.
And
And
some
And
retirees, right? There's three major components. There's the medical health, where the city is paying all of its claims, working with the providers. It's Capital Blue for health and medical, it's Benecard for prescriptions, and then United Concordia for dental. Those are the three areas where the city pays the claims directly. The providers pay the claims, but we reimburse the providers, in effect paying the claims.
Plus, if it comes back where it's better, they're recommending us to go to a fully insured plan, that will also assist us to get with the RFP process.
I will note, just for everybody's information, there is actually a third flavor, which I'm not as familiar with, which a lot of municipalities are self-insured for health insurance, but they're in a self-insurance pool as opposed to self-insuring on your own, which is what Harrisburg does. So that in-between thing, the pool model, which a lot of communities in central Pennsylvania use, you're still self-insured, you're still paying your claims, but what it does is you help each other out with a pool, so that if you have a particularly bad claim year, everybody else is picking up part of that liability. And in doing so, it helps keep the cost down for everybody. So I'd say about 90% of the communities in central Pennsylvania are in this one, it's called PEMIC, which is the one not-for-profit health insurance pool, covers most every municipality. The administrator is Benecon, but they're a for-profit company, Benecon. The actual pool is called PEMIC, don't ask me what it stands for. Pennsylvania Municipal Health Insurance Cooperative, I think that's it, PEMIC. But Benecon runs PEMIC as an administrator. They use Capital Blue Cross also as the insurance conduit. But all these municipalities are in that pool. So, for example, I know in Dauphin County, more than half of the municipalities are in the PEMIC pool. And so they are still self-insurance, but because it's a pool, it has certain benefits that are better. And you get sort of a group rating of costs, because you have thousands of municipal employees all in the same pool, as opposed to just a city doing it on its own.
We talked about the dental insurance, and went to Lehigh Valley, Lehigh Valley, something.
There's Divot, which is on the East Coast, which is similar, which is Delaware Valley Insurance Trust, DVIT. Divot does a similar product, very popular in the Delaware, Montgomery, Bucks County area, Philadelphia suburbs. But Divot has a slightly different model than PEMIC, and PEMIC is the one that's doing everything up and down from, like, I think one of the biggest members is City of Williamsport. And then down, they cover, I mean, boroughs, townships, counties. It's a lot of people, a lot of municipalities in PEMIC.
I was just at I was just in Lancaster last week for a third-class city conference, I guess. And there's 8 other municipalities there, and so I'm surprised to find their rating as the same, self-insurance.
Yeah.
And they're actually paying more than we are, so it's like, I felt a
Self,
little bit better.
yeah, no, self-insurance is not that uncommon, but there is that, like, you could do, like I said, now that you understand, there's sort of 2 ways to do self-insurance. There's self-insurance, the Harrisburg way, where you're doing it completely on your own. And then there's self-insurance where you're pooling your resources and doing it as a big group. And there are obviously, like everything else, there are advantages to the group.
Well, I think the main focus was to look at whether it's more cost effective to do it the way we're doing it now, or more cost effective to go fully insured. If it's.
Well, my point is, there's actually a third.
So I'll have to keep in mind that third option, and say, hey, why
Sure.
don't we go to a
Self-insured
self-insured pool?
pool.
You know, we could.
Yeah, and then when you get to the RFP process, that's sort of generally what people do, because they write the RFP so the pool can show you how much it would be to be in the pool versus, for example, buying from Capital Blue Cross directly or some other insurer.
There was also a thing that because we have Capital Blue Cross administering self-insurance
Yeah.
into but then you have the pharmacy with the prescription, it's covered by credit card, so.
Right,
And you
and
combine that into one, or?
PIMIC has options for, in the pool, for everything imaginable. You know, you can get, we just talked to them about, some sort of HRA product. They have that, they have HSAs, they even have education plans like 529 plans, and they can do everything. Dental, vision, life insurance, they do everything in the pool as a pool. So the pool is a powerful model, and if you do go out to RFP, just all I'm suggesting is give them a shot against just being community rated health insurance. And the city can make their own decision, what is the most cost effective, but it's not just self-insurance or buy health insurance, it's the middle road also exists. And unless you know that, you don't know it, so that's why I'm telling. So something to consider.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Kathy, you have anything? Okay. So then, the last thing in front of us is, our, determination of whether we accept the 5-year plan as presented. And, you have a draft of a letter that, we put together, in which, we express approval for the plan as submitted, acknowledging the modifications that have been made since its original draft. We appreciate the city's acknowledgement of its work towards exiting distress, the commitment toward development of a community and economic development plan, and the actual work that has been done this year on that, and as that progresses forward. We list a handful of things in the letter, not so much as a criticism or, and certainly not as a request to make any changes in the plan, but rather to acknowledge they are still top of mind for us going forward. And so that's continued maintenance of the fund balance, the development of the relationship with the Commonwealth. So I know whenever the mayor sees the governor, she says, when are people coming back to work? But that's a lighthearted way of really talking about a much more serious issue. The Commonwealth is a significant partner, a significant driver of our local economy, and whatever the capital looks like is what the rest of the city, the downtown looks like in a lot of ways. Neighborhood Services Fund remains something that we will be monitoring closely, particularly with the new contracts coming in place and the intent that those were negotiated to be at minimum break even for the city so that we recover all the costs that are incurred. Mentioned the economic development plan, and then the work to continue to monitor where we are with OPEB. We make a small note in here about the parking plan. I saw in your remarks that the mayor at least wants to continue the free 5 to 7, which I know our downtown folks appreciate greatly, but that is something that comes up frequently in any of the economic development discussions that we have, given that we have a requirement for any creation of new residential units, that there be some allocation of parking or acknowledgement of available parking at least. And then businesses likewise talk about either how their employees or how their clients and customers are going to work through the parking. It is a static thing. It is as it is coming out of the strong plan, but it's a factor that we all have to take into account as we proceed with redevelopment. We make acknowledgement of Broad Street Market, and I also joke with the mayor that ain't a whole lot of people around that understand municipal procurement processes and the bid process, and then the second round of bids if no bids are received first time. So the things that really contribute to the tail for expediting any kind of construction or reconstruction project. And then last, we take a positive note to thank the mayor for the work that Brian has been doing in his liaison with us, and then all the work that he's put in developing the plan in the first instance in conjunction with the city staff, and then in undertaking revisions or clarifications based on our comment. So that, we have that in front of you, but we will entertain your consideration of that, comments, and eventually a motion.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
If either of you are okay with that general list, and if so, you could offer a motion to approve the plan with those issues so noted.
So moved.
Second.
you want-
It's just-
What you read?
Okay, and now, Robert says I'm also allowed to make a motion.
You are.
Right, so, given the size of the body, but so there's that. We'll spread it around.
Okay, to step down from chairman.
No, he
You actually don't have to, you don't have to,
He's a member.
only a large body, and if that's to participate in debate, so. We'll know that. So we have a motion properly in front of us to approve the updated 5-year plan for 2026 with the conclusions and commentary noted in our discussion here. Any further discussion on the motion?
I do have one comment for the record. The plan itself was really well constructed. It's a strategic plan, so a solid strategic plan has to have an evaluative component to it. I think that when we talk about any type of revisions in the coming year, what that plan should look like, you should have a defined evaluation framework that supports the ability of this committee and others and the public at large to be able to monitor its results. And I think that Brian as an accountant would support something like that. But like I actually didn't see a strong evaluation framework other than just the audit process. And I think that may not be clear to stakeholders as to what that means. Future consideration.
Yeah, that's excellent. If I could respond, I think that we usually take a stab at it in the spring. When Brian comes back to us and he sort of has to revise the numbers from the fall. And that would be a great opportunity to do more than just revise the numbers, but do some sort of analysis the way we go. So I think that's to come at it for the spring would be great.
But and thank you for your comment, because it does remind me, one of the things that we have talked with the city about before is during the normal budget presentation, that the budget numbers also should be accompanied by metrics as goals, and then a report on how those metrics have been met. There's been incremental progress, I'll call in that respect. The last budget set of hearings in particular, more of the, well, council first was a little more diligent in asking for that as a part of the presentations. It was a little bit uneven in how individual department heads presented it, and that might be something, Sam, Bob, that you look at as you prepare the presentations for council for this year, is including both the clear set of measurables as well as evaluation of how programs have worked over the prior year. Thank you. Other comments? Hearing none, then all in the motion, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, let's see, next on the agenda is discussion of financial status, the 26 budget process underway, and
I told you I wasn't gonna talk about budget, right?
so,
Yeah, I'll defer to our knowledgeable finance director.
No, I'll take that one. And pardon my voice has not recovered from my surgery a few weeks ago. So the surgeon told me eventually it'll come back, but I don't know what eventually means. But Brian touched on our budget situation briefly. And for me personally, what this confirmed is that God does have a sense of humor. There's no question. Because shortly after our first departmental budget review internally, our budget manager resigned. And I really panicked and then had a chance to sit back. And frankly, I think we have a pretty good plan with Alex and Shannon. We're gonna get it done. And we should be complete by the end of November to have something for the mayor, for the mayor's office. So that she can get it to council and then go back and forth and banter all they want. But we think we're gonna be okay. Even if we don't get any budget manager, we think we have it covered.
now, add that when we had our meeting with the mayor last week, you had indicated all but two departments had numbers into you and that you were working on them. You expected those shortly. So,
Actually, at that point, I think it was 3, but we're down to 2 minutes.
okay, very good. Okay.
And if anybody have any questions or anything specific about our strategy that you'd be bored to hear about?
And of course, we will be circulating the draft as soon as it's available with the board, and then you may not know, it's been customary for us to sit in either virtually or live on council's budget hearings, so that we can make our own value judgments on adequacy and sufficiency and accuracy. And then we, at the December meeting, make our own recommendation on the budget itself, both in its entirety as well as individual line items and priorities that are expressed.
No, and I would be remiss, I did mention Brian's input to the budget as well. Brian will be concentrating primarily, I think, on the revenue side. And what we're doing on the expenditure side,
And
whether it be operating, capital, personnel.
And just to dovetail onto that, Bob, I'm glad you mentioned that because I feel like we have a good tool already in play with this 5-year plan.
Yes.
Because the revenue items were certainly a strong area of intense review. And I think that's a good way to evaluate, when the expenses come in and the requests come in, to come back to what we have projected as a reasonable projection for 2026 revenue wise.
Questions, comments? Okay, so we have 2 authority managers updates on this agenda. We'll skip this one. And since Brian's still sitting here and all warmed up, do you have anything else to report on city finance?
That's actually the last handout that's in your stack. It's three pages. They're all landscape in format, and it's all about the general fund. And this is through the end of August. And just to real quickly, this is what you've seen or what we've always distributed out in terms of reporting to monthly requirements for DCED. So, and the month of August, it was just a little bit better than break even, but it was a positive number. Year to date, 8 months, the city is down about 1.6 million expenses over revenue. The main thing that's driving that, everybody should remember that the city actually transferred over 1.9 million to the Senator's Fund for FNB upgrade. And we did this earlier this year. Last year in 2024, that a similar transfer was done, but it was done later in the year. So this is appearing earlier in the year and has that pulling down effect, expense versus revenue. That's on the front page. The second page, please don't panic. I'm not going to go over all these lines, but I just want to bring your attention down through August, which is year to date, current year versus prior year, year to date revenue. And of course, it's so large in 2024 related to the revenue replacement that the city managed out of the ARPA funds. It's not quite as high as what's indicated there at almost 27 million. And that's because EIT and LST, this is good news, is about 1.4 million dollars stronger compared to prior years. That's encouraging. That's the revenue. On the third page, in the same setup, is through August year to date. You'll see again prior year expenses were 73.1 million. Against 49.8 current year, and that a large part of that again is what the city transferred from the general fund over to the grants fund to fund the various approved projects. And again, it doesn't quite match the 26.2. There is offset there where I mentioned the transfer to the timing of the transfer to the Senator's Fund for FNB Field. And then also the city is experiencing obviously a little more expense this year for Broad Street Market. And there have been sizable, more recurring legal settlement claims that have happened this year compared to last. That's the general fund. Neighborhood services, I don't have a handout, but I just want to mention that year to date through, well, actually, it is year to date through the current month of September. The fund is showing a loss right now of about $950,000. But take a little bit of the sting out of that. We need to remember the city had a $1.9 million settlement, which is included in that year to date figure related to the Brenner Motors litigation, the eminent domain. That's an extraordinary expense that doesn't happen. If you would take that out, the fund would be strongly positive for year to date through September.
Right, I mean,
Yeah, sure.
there's also an upcoming transfer into the neighborhood services fund from the trash assistance program. Set by council a couple years ago, so. 800 some thousand so far.
Like 996,000.
Is that the ARPA?
Yeah, it's
So
going.
the credits to people's accounts have been made. We had an issue with the city treasurer refusing to pay law, so. And that's going to be transferred later this year.
Just one last item real quick, which is very good news. And I believe it may have even transacted already today. We've received confirmation from the Auditor General's office of the pension system state aid. It normally happens this time of the year. It's just shy of 4.7 million. And actually that's good in terms of the city budgeted 4,125,000. So there's a little stronger actual compared to budget.
Brian, it was about a year ago that you brought to our attention, an unusually large number of medical expenses for employees that occurred sort of as we got closer to the end of the year, last fiscal year. Is there anything like that happening this year, or claims history going well? Do you expect there to be reinsurance
Or a stop loss against it,
Yeah.
right? Well, actually, the city has budgeted for current year 13 million. And I believe through the end of August, we were slightly higher than 2/3, maybe up around 69-70%. But we have much fewer extraordinary amounts. The biggest driver there would be on the Capital Blue side. We were experiencing last year, and these claims happen weekly. And when a claim comes in, it's like 500,000, 400,000. That's extraordinary. So it's good to report. No, I'm not seeing that. With a few more days to go, and we just had a claim. The claims recently have really been more reasonable, like 150,000, 175. So that it is. I'm confident, but it's so hard to predict that, of course, as you know. But I think we're not experiencing. We're not in the same position we were in September of last year, where we had to go back to council more than once to ask for more appropriation to cover those excess claims.
And I do have one other question from last year. I don't want to pick at a scan, but we know that last year there was a little bit of a kerfuffle. It's a technical term, regarding the recreation, the seasonal employment.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not trying to open up a wound, but do we feel that this year, the thing, now that the summer's sort of over, that their expenses track closer to what they?
I wish Tim were here, because he would be all over that. But
Well, I have to ask either way.
But no, I mean, it's not that I don't review the budget, but I review it at a account grouping level that corresponds with the budget ordinance, our 4 main categories. But no, I think they, Parks and Rec staff really took that to heart.
Good.
So I don't think it's, coming up to that kind of we certainly don't want that discussion again,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Plus that budget line item was increased.
It was raised a little
Yeah.
to be more realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I called it a kerfuffle, because I'm not sure it was a real problem, but, you know, people were surprised, some people were
Plus
surprised.
they told me nobody knew last year. either.
Right.
Yeah, it was a two-part thing. It was the fact of, as well as the timing of notice of.
That's correct, that's what I'm trying to get, if they were in trouble again, I'd like it to be earlier as opposed to later. So, okay, good, thank you for the answering those questions, I really do appreciate the update, Brett.
Yeah, certainly.
We got on the same line, but we were tracking, all the people by person. I had a spreadsheet, these are all the people from last year, and actually you don't hire any more than this. I think I hired that 3 less.
Okay.
So we were trying to keep an eye on that as it was happening.
It does go up and down, so I understand.
Other questions from the board on current financial conditions? Okay, very good. Thank you as well. As always, you're welcome. And now.
We'll
Authority
do it
manager's
correctly. So we'll do it correctly, not the way it says it on the agenda. We have the paid bills report for today, 9/24. In your packet, you received it yesterday, nothing extraordinary. Other than the $12 that you had to reimburse the authority manager because of a debit card mistake at the bank, but we've got that all fixed out now, so. If there's any other questions about our bills, please let me know. If not, the other item I have is the proposed meeting schedule for next year, which I distributed. And if there's any questions or concerns, obviously we can change it, but that's sort of keeping to the same Wednesdays of the month as we've done in the current and in the previous.
And for the record, the fact that we don't meet every month is indicative of the city having gotten to a stable enough financial condition. We don't have to ride her quite as closely. And so what we do through the years, schedule the meetings to time to particular events and requirements. So spring meetings relative to preparation for our annual reporting requirements, and then over the summer for the 5-year plan, and then December for the budget.
There's no concerns, there's no concerns.
Good so far. Okay, very good. And we do a summary advertisement for the meetings. So. All right, good. Update on appointments. You heard the sigh. There's a couple names in circulation, but I honestly have nothing additional to report to you today. The outstanding appointments, of course, are for the House Majority Leader or Speaker of the House rather, and the Governor's Office. And we have the city legislative delegation from both chambers is working on those to make those happen. So looking forward to it when it does.
Kathy suggests that a meeting off and on.
Right. Okay, is there any other business that we need to take up today?
Just one final question on the final distribution of the report.
Yes.
Jeff, is it recommended to keep the original submittal dates as August 31st, but maybe just say final?
Yes, you can do that, but I think we should mark it somehow as revised like you did for this intermediate one.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure if you want, could you submit it all first and revise with the final revision date? And that way we can track that document, because you're gonna make a couple changes after today.
Right, the new page
The new page.
inserts.
So there'll be 2 dates on the
Okay.
front cover, and when you give that to me, I will do the distribution. So you just have to
Great.
give me the document when it's ready.
Okay.
Thank you,
I
bro.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? All right, shall we?
I don't know if there's anyone in the audience who has any questions, but yes, please. If you'd introduce yourself for those who don't know.
Oh, Troy Keyser, DCED. Brian, you mentioned, and thank you for outlining the audit schedule, but I noticed, you don't have 2022 in here, and that's still outstanding. Is there?
Oh,
That's done.
happy to say that's a done deal.
Submitted here?
It's been issued. Are you referring to the AFR?
Yes.
Yeah, the annual, that has been completed. It's still in a review.
Okay.
stage, but yes, that needs to be updated to the Muni Stats
Yeah.
website, I believe, yeah.
Okay.
But the actual audit report itself,
That's all I,
that has been issued. We issued that actually back in January of this year.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm just having this minute.
Yep.
Anything else, John? You good? Anybody else have any other comments? All right, sir, back to you.
Okay. Well, our next meeting will be December 17th, and just to tee things up, tentatively, we're thinking about inviting someone in from the school board because that has some fiscal interrelationships with the city as well as policy, and so we'll be doing that. We should wish happy Rosh Hashanah, I guess it is last day.
Yes.
So for anyone who observes. Otherwise, we will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. No second required. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
4:11 p.m.